right, this is the Evan Ginzburg Show at VillageConnectionRadio.com. Jim Savalio, engineer and station owner at the helm. And we are joined by Darren Patchowitz, whose new book is Good Advice from Professional Wrestling, Full Contact Life Lessons. That's a mouthful. And my dear friend, the late, great Johnny Valiant, I would learn a lot from this man, just being on the road with him. He'd always be like, get to the venue. You never know what could happen. The bus could break down. The train could break down. There could be plane delays. You know, it's like little things that I learned over the years with these guys. Travel light. It's hard enough. Don't carry heavy bags to weigh you down. And I learned various things from these guys over the years. And so what can we learn from your book?
You can learn a lot of different things, but I think that taking a step back, a lot of people think that the wrestlers are the characters on screen. They don't think about who these people are behind the scenes. So if we look at people today like Britt Baker, she's actually a dentist. Yeah. You look at David
My
Otunga.
best friend's a dentist.
Really?
Yeah, I was out with him the other night. Yeah.
Is that why your teeth are so great, Evan?
Oh, it could be better, but but yeah.
But yeah, and you look at other people like David Otunga, who I think is still in the WWE ranks, Harvard-educated lawyer right there. So there's so many people that we can learn a lot of great things from because, you know, judge them by their accomplishments, not just their in-ring pursuits.
Well, also the life experience of these guys. Johnny Valiant wrestled for oil sheiks 3 in the morning in Saudi Arabia.
Right.
Or in the Middle East, I'm not quite sure where. Butcher Paul Vachon told me he wrestled in front of 100,000 people in India. 100,000 people.
I believe it.
You know, you talk about WrestleMania, you know, there were bigger crowds in this that history hasn't acknowledged. And what's it like when you're whining and dining with kings and queens, or as Dusty Rhodes said, the exact polar opposite, you know? These guys have traveled the world and had, you know, the good, the bad, and ugly of every possible life experience, and you can learn from them. One thing I try not to pick up is they've been burned so many times by so many promoters and so many dirtbags along the way, agents, etc., so on. They don't trust anybody. And that's something I try to avoid. Keep your circle small. Deal with people you do trust, who do love you, who do have your best interest. But the basic distrust that many of them have in general, you know, that's something I don't think is necessarily positive. What's your take on that?
I think that you're going to find in any profession teachers who are frustrated, and plumbers and athletes of any sort. They're all going to be frustrated, and there are people that burn them on some level. But again, if we look at one person like Diamond Dallas Page, who wrote the foreword to the book, look at his success that he had before he was in wrestling as a nightclub owner and or manager, and now with DDP Yoga. And that's a guy that there's a ton to learn from. And there's quotes from him and Bischoff and Mick Foley and all sorts of greats at different levels.
I think DDP is a walking inspiration. I don't think he's necessarily the greatest wrestler to ever get in the ring, although he's tremendously charismatic and certainly a top-notch wrestler. He's not Ric Flair. He's not Terry Funk. But a tremendous talent. But he's a walking inspiration. This guy started very late.
Yeah.
People would say, you're never going to make it in your 30s, and he did. He made it big. Also with the yoga and helping guys like Jake the Snake Roberts.
Absolutely, you know, Scott Hall. And he's done it with lots of other people. Sometimes it's on the record and on camera, and sometimes it's not. But if, you know, taking your argument that was he the best in-ring performer? No. How do you feel about the Ramones? Are you a Ramones fan?
I like the Ramones. They're from Forest Hills.
Yes.
My home base.
Yes, indeed. Yeah. And Ramones, I think a lot of people would say, one of the best bands of all time.
No, they're not virtuoso musicians, but what they did well.
And did they inspire a lot of people in the process?
Oh, absolutely.
Of course. So I think that a lot of the greats weren't necessarily people doing moonsaults. Right. They weren't the fastest in-ring performers. I always
enjoyed his work. But, don't get me wrong. And again, this guy made it on drive, determination. He learned late. It was not easy. And he pulled it off.
Long-term relationships.
Networking. And you could see the guy's positive. He's very inspirational guy.
Yeah, so if you look at the people that he kept company with, if you look at Dusty Rhodes and Bischoff and Mick Foley and Nash and Hall and Hogan, how many people do you know that get along with all those people all these years later.
Yeah.
You don't see, if you watch shoot interviews, you don't hear people burying DDP all the time. You hear great, great things about him. And if you think about yourself, whatever your profession is, well, do I want to be liked and respected by a lot of people? Of course you do. Do you want to work for a long time? Yes, you do. So a lot of the people in the book, if, Batista, there's a quote from Randy Orton, regardless if you love these people's in-ring work or their character, there's just so much to learn from all these different wrestlers from decades. And we've got Bruno Sammartino quotes in there. My co-author DX is a Pittsburgh guy. So he said, you have to have Kurt Angle, you have to have Sammartino, and of course I got Larry Zbyszko in there too.
Well, Bruno was the quote-unquote 98-pound weakling who was kicked with sand in the face by the bully.
Charles Atlas.
Yeah, Charles Atlas. And this guy,
Yeah.
walked into a gym in Pittsburgh and built himself up into Superman.
Mm-hmm.
Johnny Valiant told me that he trained on pasta and weights at the YMCA in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Johnny Valiant himself. So again, somebody like Bruno is truly inspirational. I mean, he almost died, and he built himself into Superman. No steroids, nothing illegal.
Getting past the Holocaust with his family. I mean, you just look at all that kind of stuff and you say that maybe being the world champion for more than a decade is only one of his big, big accomplishments. Yeah. And still for decades after he retired in ring, the guy was working and making appearances and somebody that you'd want to be associated with. And wrestling a lot of the time gets a bad rap, unfortunately. People focus on the tragedies rather than the success stories. And I think we can argue very easily there's many more success stories than tragedies. It's just people don't always get in that positive mindset.
Well, it depends what your definition of tragedy is. I say all the time, it's disgraceful that a Vince McMahon does not give pensions and 401ks and health benefits to guys who sacrifice their bodies for him. And also, a lot of these guys who headlined Madison Square Garden, whether it was the 70s or 80s, before the boom period, a lot of these guys ended up bouncers or pushing a broom. And not that there's any disgrace in doing a hard day's honest work, no matter what it is, but they should have been taken care of better. And in many cases, they suffered from depression. You're going from, the top of the world to, pushing a broom, and it's not easy to cope with that. And I've seen this with many of my childhood heroes, and so that's a different kind of tragedy. You don't have to end up dead for it to be a tragedy.
Of course. But we can say the same thing about music and actors and all that. The people who start in movies, where are they 20, 30 years later? But you have to pick yourself up and realize you're not going to be at the top forever. So if you keep learning and you keep getting better and keep striving to keep up your relationships, you can maybe wind up on top again a couple of years after the fall, or you can realize that you can coach or there's other paths to take. So the book largely focuses on what the people were able to do to be, not just at the top for 2 years, but working in the business for 20, 30, 40 years. And I think that the current crop of superstars at WWE, you're right, they're not on track to be taken care of. And a lot of them kind of realize that, and that's why you see that they're acting while they're in the WWE. They get their sports nutrition company launched. On my podcast this week, I had Carmella. She already has a wine label coming up. So, she's not going to live and die by being Carmella. When I did the interview with her, they said, you're on the phone with Leah. So, she already knows, there's life after Carmella. So I think that the current generation is aware of that. Not to say there's anything wrong in being your persona for 50 years, but I think that there's an alternative plan in place for a lot of folks.
So what have you personally gotten out of talking to all the wrestlers and writing this book? How has this changed your life?
For one thing, I've gotten to do a lot of interviews with great people like yourself, and you realize, and that's a huge compliment because I've been following your work for a long time, plugged to 350 Days, which my wife and I saw the night that it came out, thanks to Fathom Events. But there's a lot of great people like you that I get to do interviews with, and you realize in many ways you're on the same page. Even if we don't like the same music or eat the same food or live in the same place, we're in this together, and there's a lot of us out there. And after watching that AEW pay-per-view a week and a half ago, all hope is not lost. There can be a second big wrestling company, maybe even a third and a fourth if ROH and New Japan finally get their acts together in some way. But the bottom line is it might be a boom period right now.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm seeing that from talking to people like yourself. And also, I love the creative process, the push of you do a project, you finish it, you put it out there, you get the feedback.
Okay. And when we come back, we're going to talk about the current wrestling scene. Going to take a very brief time out. And Jim, why don't you play some promos? Thank you.
Say, you're Bobby Rivers, right? Bobby barely registers and nods while he looks around for women. I love how you beat Willie Dean tonight. I hate that guy. You know, I can't. Bobby looks at the bar and sees Willie Dean talking to two girls. Hey, Chris, kayfabe. He looks at the fan. Sorry, man, we stay here. There's going to be a fight. Know what I mean? Let's go, Chris. Chris asks, why didn't we stay? There wasn't going to be any fight. Listen, brother. Bert Ironside's rule number 1. Baby faces and heels do not socialize. Why? It's all about protecting the business. You don't tell your 5-year-old that there's no Santa Claus, and faces and heels do not sit in a bar full of marks drinking together. Kings of the Ring is the first audio drama podcast based on wrestling. Search Kings of the Ring from any podcast app or kingsotr.com.
We are back with the Evan Ginzburg Show at villageconnectionradio.com with Darren Pouchowitz. His new book, Good Advice from Professional Wrestling, Full Contact Life Lessons. And I've had some really wonderful, wonderful experiences by being involved with pro wrestling. It's taken me places I never imagined. And I've also met people I wouldn't piss on if they were on fire. So it's been a mixed, it's been a, the good, the bad, and the ugly of professional wrestling. You seem much more positive than I am. I have a love-hate relationship with the whole thing.
Well, if you put out a book that is about positivity and you start talking about people you wouldn't piss on if they were on fire.
Yeah, it wouldn't work. It doesn't fit the theme.
Yeah, I think that you can turn almost any negative into a positive if you put a little effort into it. And my decades of being a fan, I was a lapsed fan. I would say I got out of wrestling from maybe 94 to 2007. Music took over everything for me. But looking at everything back, there's so much history that's great. And why not be positive? Why be just another negative person about the whole thing? Yeah, WWE could be a lot better right now. But you know what? There's so many great alternatives right now.
I think it's a golden age of wrestling.
Sure.
And I've used those exact words that you used before. I think that as a quote-unquote discerning fan, you can watch New Japan, you can watch Ring of Honor, you could watch AEW, even WWE. Seth Rollins and AJ Styles was art. That was art on the last pay-per-view. You have to sit through all the, numbing stuff in between, but that was a tremendous match. So if you pick and choose, I think you can, you could, and YouTube, if you like old school, you could endlessly watch great wrestling on YouTube or WWE Network or whatever the case may be. So, yeah, there's a lot of positives out there. I see things from the other side. I'll go on indie shows, and we're going to have some indie wrestlers and personalities on later in the show. And, the promoter will pay them with 2 hot dogs or $30 or whatever the case may be. And I think that's disgraceful. And, I just see all sides of it. However, what's the positive side of indie wrestling? For 10, 15, $20, you're sitting in a crowd, you're having a great time, you meet the wrestlers, you're getting autographs, you're taking pictures. It's 100 times more personal than a WWE show at a huge arena.
Absolutely.
So, again, you take the good with the bad. But it is a brutal business, just like the boxing business, just like the wrestling business, just like the movie business. Wherever there's money involved, somebody's going to be exploiting somebody.
Absolutely.
But I guess from what you're telling me with gentlemen like Diamond Dallas Page, learn the business side of it all, the networking side of it all, and put yourself in a power position. I think a lot of these kids come in starry-eyed and they really don't know what they're getting into.
I agree with all that. And I think that people need to realize that when they're in an entertainment-oriented profession, especially as a performer, just saying, I'm a singer, that's great and all, and maybe when you get to the top level, you can be just a singer. But sometimes you have to think about what it is that you do otherwise. And so I had the pleasure a couple of weeks ago of interviewing Al Snow. And Al Snow has made OVW the first accredited wrestling developmental program. It's college accredited, state accredited.
Wow.
And he was saying that you not only learn the in-ring, but you learn the production. You learn how to do the sound, the lighting, etc. Why? Because when your in-ring career is over, you should have that backup plan in place. And I say, if you're a singer, there's no reason you can't also be a podcaster and or an actor and or a teacher and or some kind of a performing thing, because there's enough hours in the day. You know, you're not on Facebook all day responding to people.
I have many friends who are performing teachers.
Of course, and we could look at many people who are famous comedians, singers and whatnot who were teachers until they made it. And then after, you know, it dipped down a little bit, they went back to the teaching. And if we talk about in wrestling, George Animal Steel, wasn't he only wrestling in the summers for WWF?
He was a high school coach.
Yeah,
and he had benefits and pension from the school system in Michigan. And he would come in mostly during the summers. So every summer, like clockwork, he'd be wrestling Pedro, then Bruno, then Backlund. You know, every summer George would come in. And he seemed to deteriorate over the years. In the 70s, he was cutting promos. By the mid 80s, he was like really not talking whatsoever. It was odd, but.
And then another guy that we can look at for that kind of thing is, say, Terry Funk, that he would go in and out, but the reality was he was doing stunt work in Hollywood and, you know, eventually... And acting. Wasn't he in Roadhouse with Patrick Swayze?
Yeah.
So there were some people who figured it out, and some people who, quote-unquote, figure it out, share the advice with everybody because they want to pull other people up and other people keep it to themselves.
Well, I would tell anybody multiple streams of income.
Mm-hmm.
You know, don't put all your eggs in one basket, because back in the day, our parents' times, our grandparents' times, you know, you'd work 30, 40 years and they'd give you a watch and you'd retire. And now there's no loyalty. The company's going to downsize. They're going to cut you. They're going to lay you off no matter how hard you work. And, you know, you're one paycheck away from being in trouble, you know, if you lose that paycheck. So, yeah, expand your audience, expand your base, and have multiple streams of income, and also learn financial literacy.
Mm-hmm.
Most Americans know nothing. What's a 401k? What's a TDA? What's a Roth IRA? They have no clue. No clue. So teach yourself, you know, whatever your income stream is, learn how to save it, invest it, not squander it. And since I mentioned that, I get very tired of the fanboys out there. These wrestlers all pissed away their vast fortunes. Listen, they didn't make vast fortunes to begin with.
Yeah.
They were supporting their family at home while on the road. You know, it was not an easy gig. And, you know, please don't start with they all squandered it. I always go back to Kamala saying to me face to face. He said, I made $800 in a sold out arena against Hulk Hogan. $800, whatever, 15,000 people, whatever it was. I mean, come on.
And flight and hotel had to come out of that.
And you're sending money back home. Taxes, 3 meals a day, rental cars. You know, you're making it sound like $800 is a fortune of money. And these guys were not treated the way they should have been in most cases. Have things gotten better today? Yes. They're wrestling 200 days instead of 350.
Yeah.
You know, things have improved. They're getting paid more. But they're not getting paid what an NBA player or NFL player or whomever would be getting. These guys are prime-time TV stars. They're not getting paid what an actor on a hit show would be getting paid. And that's the equivalent of what they're doing. They're on 8, 9 o'clock at night. Millions of people are watching, and they're not seeing that kind of money.
So when we look at the WWE roster in terms of diversification, and Dolph Ziggler, you know, it's no secret he's been doing stand-up. I mean, I think he's doing, 3-4 shows a month.
Considering WWE is not funny whatsoever, that's a good move. They have comedy that's not funny. It's like a genre unto itself.
Yeah, there's a number of misses. No one can dispute that. And Miz has his reality show, but he's also done a good number of movies at this point. And so you are seeing more of those people diversifying. Oh, yeah, Zack Ryder and Kurt
I'm looking
Hawkins.
forward to the Marine 17. It's like, Marine 16 was my favorite.
Yeah, that's not far off.
I'm
No,
joking.
you're not joking, because give it 5 to 10 years and they have their franchise. But, Zack Ryder and Kurt Hawkins have their action figure podcast, which they do under their real names. So maybe talent is now allowed
Tell
to have...
Tell us about your podcast.
My podcast is, are you ready for the name?
Yeah.
The Paltrowcast with Darren Paltrowitz. I know, it rolls off the tongue like
There
that.
you go.
But every other
that
week...
is catchy, actually.
Thank you very much. I aim to please. But I mentioned before we have Carmela on this week's episode, but also Rob Halford from Judas Priest and Steve Lukather from Toto. Kind of like you, I like to curate, like, I'm into this, and this. Yeah. Let's put it all together and hope some of the same people are into it. Kind of like Gilbert Gottfried's podcast, which is curated to what he's into. So it's a mix of actors, comedians.
I love Gilbert. I think that guy's hilarious.
Do you listen to his podcast?
Nah.
Oh, you should.
I'm really not a podcast guy, believe it or not. I don't know. I find it's very hard to focus. I'm juggling 27 things, which is why I messed up your name in the ad, and I apologize for that.
Oh, it's all good.
I'm always running, juggling. It's like my head spins.
In the best of ways. But what I love about podcasts, if I were going to sell you on it, say, do you want to hear somebody that you're into talk for a non-determined amount of time, uncensored, saying whatever they want, not just promoting their new product? Yes. I think you do.
I saw the documentary on Gilbert. I thought that was great. Did you see that?
Oh, yeah. And his co-host on there, Frank Santopadre, I think you and him would be best friends.
Yeah. Interesting. So, tell us about some of your other books.
So my first book came out only about 9 months ago. It's called Pocket Cash Your Happy Money. And I'm basically a freelancer. For better and for worse, I'm a freelancer. I do a bunch of different things.
And that's not easy.
It's not easy, but it's rewarding more days than not. And all that came out of working full-time, losing a job on zero notice, not getting unemployment.
Well, that's what I was saying. Nobody's loyal these days, yeah.
Yeah, and I kind of realized, hey, how do I pay the bills here? And I figured out all these different things that you can do to add up. And now, even though I work very steadily, there are things that you can do. So, for example, you can do mystery shopping. You can do focus groups. You can do a lot of different things that all, pad your bank account a little bit. So, compiled them all together.
Interesting. And your wife is sitting here off camera.
You have to say like Borat. You have to go, my wife.
Yeah. I don't want you to put words in her mouth, but, someone would say, what about that steady check with benefits, pension? It seems she's very supportive of you to let you go down this road.
Absolutely. If you don't have a supportive person behind you and you're a creative to creative-ish kind of person, you're kind of in trouble because, Paul Stanley always says or remarks about how if you have that wife at home going, when are you coming home? When are you coming home? Good luck being on the road 150 days a year and making that living. So I couldn't be with somebody that's more supportive. And fortunately, she tolerates the wrestling. She went with me to see Create a Pro in Lynbrook on Friday, and I think she liked it. Don't tell anyone, though. This is our secret, right?
I'll tell you the funniest wife and wrestling story. This is a true story. My wife's from Korea. She doesn't speak a lot of English. I take her to her first wrestling show, and the indie wrestler hits the other guy with the chair. The second he hit, I knew it was wrong. The guy was just pouring blood, and he needed like 16 staples in his head. The ambulance came, and my wife just sat there and went, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, like a mantra, like she was traumatized. This is a true story. Her first experience with wrestling.
Yeah, hopefully that wasn't the WCW pay-per-view in Korea.
No, this was an indie wrestling
Bad
show.
joke.
Yeah. And so now, we'll have like Greg Valentine sleeping on our couch, and
Right.
So now she'll watch like an old garden match with Valentine, and she like giggles, like because now she finds it all very amusing and entertaining. Yeah.
Yeah, if you didn't really pay attention to wrestling, if you just went on stereotypes, you'd say it's two big guys, fake fighting. And then when you actually take a step back and you think about the art and the creativity involved with the whole thing and the storytelling aspect and the entertainment, it's really kind of a mix of a concert, stand-up comedy because there's improv involved in the whole thing, horror because there may or may not be blood or simulated violence. And when you put all that together and then you think about all the people over the years who were fans of it, not just Andy Kaufman, U.S. presidents, not just Trump, have been fans of professional wrestling. I think George W. Bush, George Bush Sr. had Ric Flair at the White House once.
I remember an old picture with Jimmy Carter and Mr. Wrestling 2. You ever see that?
I haven't seen that one.
Yeah, Mr. Wrestling 2 has Jimmy Carter in a headlock or vice versa. It's a famous picture, yeah.
But what you were saying before about the Saudi princes and whatnot, not in the WWE context, royal families have traditionally loved wrestling. Matthew McConaughey outed himself as a wrestling fan when he did that BBC interview.
So what do you think of that whole scenario that there's a stigma? Like, I always tell the story, as an educator, my colleagues have said, what's an intelligent fellow like you doing involved with wrestling? So one time I actually said, would you watch a very short video if I brought it in, and it's better than me trying to explain it. So I brought in Dynamite Kid and Tiger Mask.
Oh, yeah.
And this woman sat there riveted, and she's like, these guys are great.
Yeah.
Like, so I think when it's presented very cartoonish, as WWE tends to do on their TV programming, I think people would rightfully say, just like I might say about the Kardashians or a bad reality show, this is junk. But if you see it presented as sport, as art, as two athletes, you would appreciate the art of professional wrestling.
Yeah, if somebody was trying to tell you, like, punk rock's great, and then they played you, like, a bad high school basement recording, you'd go, this is garbage. But if they were to play you the Ramones or the Clash and give you some context and go, do you hear what it is that they're singing about? Do you hear those harmonies? Do you hear that guitar work, which has previously never been done before? And then you get into that, and then you go, well, where did that come from? Well, the Ramones loved girl groups and the Velvet Underground. Okay, where did that come from?
I'll tell you a funny story. Back when Tower Records was huge, I bumped into one of the Ramones, and they all kind of looked the same, so I don't remember which one it was.
Right.
But I bumped into one of the Ramones, and we just started talking about R&B for like a half hour, because I wasn't a big Ramones fan, but I recognized the guy, and we were like in the same section looking at the R&B, and we just started bullshitting and the guy was really knowledgeable. Yeah.
Yeah, and so when you learn more and more about celebrities and athletes and other public figures that love wrestling, Macaulay Culkin can't stop talking about wrestling on his podcast.
Really?
And when you hear Chris Jericho, on his podcast interviewing different people, and eventually they'll out themselves and go, by the way, I'm a big fan of Y2J. The Darren from System of a Down was talking about how he never misses New Japan. You go, wait, him?
Wow.
And they're out there. The wrestling fans are out there. Jimmy Fallon is a wrestling fan. Jon Stewart is a wrestling fan. John Oliver is a wrestling fan.
Yeah.
So that stigma shouldn't be there anymore.
I thought it was great what John Oliver said about the WWE. He really took them to task. I mean, I've been saying similar things for decades, but he has a larger forum, and it really hit. I mean, everybody noted what he said, and a lot of people agreed with it. And John Oliver, that was like a 15-minute segment. That was serious.
I think it was like 22.
Yeah, it was a long segment.
Wow.
Yeah.
And it's wonderful to see that wrestling isn't just cartoonish chair shots. There really is artistic stuff. There's really brutal stuff. And I think that the future talent out there, somebody like MJF, he is great. It's kind of like the Andy Kaufman promos that he was doing on Jerry Lawler meets The Miz, but it's original at the same time.
I saw... It's funny, just the other night I was out with my oldest friend and his nephew, and he's a high school kid. He's going into college in the fall, and I forget the high school, but he said that Friedman is from that school.
Plainview, JFK.
Yeah, from the same school.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
so all of a sudden, like, they're noticing, like, the guy's blowing up, and like, they're very proud of this. And I watched that battle royale that Jim Cornette was not happy with at AEW.
Yeah.
And, you know, I love Sonny Kiss. I've had Sonny Kiss on the show.
Yeah.
And so I did not necessarily agree with that. But a lot of his criticisms of that battle royale I thought were valid. You know, I thought a lot of it was cartoonish and WWE-like, although the pay-per-view itself was great.
Yes.
The pay-per-view was great. So I'm watching this battle royale, and I'm saying, this Friedman, he's the guy. He's the standout. He's the guy with the charisma. I say the same thing about Velveteen Dream. I'm like, this guy's going to be a huge star. Huge star, unless they totally squander the talent like they've done in the past. But sometimes when you watch this long enough, you just go, total package. Charisma, can talk, got the look, great gimmick. This is very rare to put all those pieces together.
And these are two guys that we're talking about right now in their early 20s. I think MJF is 23. Patrick, 22, 23. I'm sorry, Velveteen.
Yeah.
I got used to seeing him on
yeah.
Tough Enough as Patrick Clark. 22, 23 years old, total package.
Yeah.
And yet, what they do is very reflective of the golden age of wrestling, of decades past. Like, you can look at them and go, well, they clearly liked Hogan and Warrior, but they clearly respect Bruno, but they clearly like Daniel Bryan. These guys get all the eras. They didn't just go, I love Stone Cold, The Rock, and NWO, and that's it.
So MJF, that's the initials, right?
MJF. He changed it. I think he was first Feinstein, and then he became Friedman.
Nope.
I don't know if Feinstein was too Jewish or
I don't know.
Not Jewish enough. I don't know.
But I watched the promo of his the other day, and he gets into, you know, those fat fanboys in the basement and mommy making dinner, and I'm like, this is rough. It's rough. He's getting real heat, you know?
Absolutely. And to see it in person on Friday, I'd never seen it in person before, was fantastic. And, you know, I went up to him. I never buy autographs or photos. I made an exception for him. And to watch him insult me and other people, he was in full character at that merch table, was glorious.
I bought an autograph yesterday.
Who's
Eddie
autograph?
Holman. Eddie Holman. Hey There Lonely Girl.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, 73-year-old R&B singer. He hasn't lost a note. Unbelievably charismatic. I got a signed CD. I'm an R&B guy, and I was marking out. I'm like, this guy's hitting every note that he hit 50 years ago. And charisma off the charts.
Yeah, it's great when you can see people in music who are holding up their voice. There's other people, you notice the high notes are coming, the mic goes out to the crowd, sing with me.
Yeah.
I saw a couple of weeks ago down the block, I saw Judas Priest. I love Judas Priest, maybe a little too much. And Halford, like 99% of the time, is hitting the notes, but 1% of the time go, okay.
Well, that's not bad when somebody gets up there in age. If it's somebody I love, I'll see them 20 times.
Yeah.
And I'll go, Patti LaBelle in 2019 is 90% of what she was 40, 50 years ago.
Yes.
And that's great. It's because, you know, she's in her 70s. There's certain guys, though, that haven't lost the note. Smokey Robinson, I think, sounds better.
Still great.
He sings like a jazz singer now. He sounds better, I think. I saw Al Green a few weeks ago. Physically, he's not what he was. He had to sit down several times. But his voice was there.
I'd put Todd Rundgren on that list. We've seen him a number of times, still killing it vocally. Still playing the hell out of the guitar. He even did choreography. He decided to bring a couple of dancers with him. And so you look at certain people, and you could say this about wrestling, about punk rock, about acting. Some people are content to do the greatest hits, and that's it. And as long as it vaguely sounds like that. And other people continue to challenge themselves. And in wrestling, if you look at what PCO has reinvented himself as.
He's in his early 50s.
Amazing. He's better in his 50s.
And he's legit.
Than in his 20s. And you're starting to see some of those, and it's kind of inspiring as a fan.
Last night, I saw the Stylistics, who I've probably seen 15 times.
Oh, yeah.
And all of a sudden, they're playing, like, B cuts, you know, because just so they're not doing the same thing, the same show over and over and over again. There were 3 or 4 songs that they added to the set, and they switched things around, and they still want to challenge themselves. And
Yeah.
I think it's great.
Yeah, I think that we might be in the minority when it comes to people who take entertainment seriously. Most people don't take entertainment seriously. They go, oh, it's a song. I like a song. I'll hum along.
I want you to know, I read the other day, I've been aware for a long time people use music and therapy for seniors and nursing homes and Alzheimer patients, etc., so on. But I read a very interesting article the other day. They said that concerts actually have a better effect on the brain than meditation and they said your brain is reacting to the music in such a way that it's very healthy. And I'll do 25 concerts every summer. I mean, I'm going to see Nona Hendrix and Vernon Reid on Thursday.
Where are they playing? Iridium?
At BAM R&B Festival, Metro Tech,
wow,
Brooklyn.
Vernon Reid. I've had the pleasure of interviewing him. What a nice guy, and a great photographer too. Not just a hell of a
Nona
guitar player.
Hendrix is 73 or 4. She's still great.
Oh,
She
yeah.
looks 20 years younger.
Oh yeah.
My favorite, this will sound crazy, my favorite artist, if you said, who would you like to pay to see tonight? He's 85 years old, Bobby Rush.
Yeah.
I love that guy with all my heart.
Yeah, he's still at a top level.
Yeah.
He's doing better than a lot of artists in their 50s, and he's 85. You said
He looks like he's 55.
Yeah.
I mean, I just saw a documentary, I Am the Blues. I really recommend it. Incredible. They went down to Mississippi, all these old school guys, Lazy Lester and Bobby Rush. And
Now I got to cut you off. That's a hell of a professional wrestling name right there. Lazy Lester.
Lazy Lester, yeah.
That's not a blues artist. That's a wrestler. Lazy Lester.
Well,
Great
well, that Orange Cassidy was kind of doing that gimmick.
Oh, I'm sorry to cut you off. What do you think about Orange Cassidy?
I'm in the middle. I think it's good in small doses. I think it's good, but I don't know if I could watch that for 15 minutes.
Did you watch the video of a guy confronting Terry Taylor on the street the other day, asking him to sign Orange Cassidy?
No, I didn't see that.
I don't. I'm gonna ruin the joke, but he walks up to Terry Taylor on the street and goes, "Hey Terry, you need to sign Orange Cassidy." He's like, huh? You need to sign Orange Cassidy. Orange?
Yeah.
Just look it up.
Terry Taylor, I saw coming up with the end. I used to go to Philly every month for the NWA shows in the 80s.
Oh, wow.
I mean, every month. And he was great, and WWE destroyed him. Just destroyed him. That was like one of the worst gimmicks of all time, that Red Rooster.
It was a bad gimmick, and Terrence Taylor, you could say, was pretty bad.
That wasn't great either.
But then take a step back and you go, that guy's been working nonstop in wrestling since, what, 85?
Okay. But I'm
He's
saying,
always had a job.
You always had that rumor they're grooming him for the NWA title, whether it was true or not, because he had the look and he was legitimately talented. And next thing you know, he's the Red Rooster, and you're cringing.
Yeah, but if you think about the salary that he's earned every year for 30, 35 years, now that's one of the most successful people that no one ever thinks is successful.
Now, I'm going to wrap it up with this. I think you're very successful because you only make money doing things that you love to do. And I've tried to live that myself. I've turned down gigs. I'm just like, I don't want to do that. It's not worth the money. You follow your muse in multiple ways. And I think it's great that you could pay the bills that way. And it's not the steadiest way to do things, but it works for you. What's your take on that?
That's so kind of you to say. Coming
from
you,
that
that means a lot.
sincerely.
I have a teaching degree. I have a master's. I haven't used them. I did teach English for a bit when I was a lot younger. You're getting that paycheck and that's great. But at the end of the day, you want to drink to forget. You don't want to talk about your day. I want to talk about my day at the end of it because I think about the great people that I met and the creative outlets I have. So, the days when it's tough and you're tired are much better in this field than...
The thing with teaching, and I've done it myself, you are battling a bureaucracy, a vast bureaucracy, and you are being judged on your paperwork, your testing, etc., so on, and not the actual teaching.
Right.
But there are avenues, adult education, adult ESL, for example, where you can use your skills in a more pure sense, where it's about teaching and not necessarily paperwork or a vast bureaucracy.
Yeah.
So, even with teaching, you can find that, there's always going to be paperwork, regardless. But
pushing paper is inevitable in just about every field. But, I don't say that I'm the best writer, I'm the smartest writer, the smartest person, but it's just do it. Like, you say you're going to write a book, write a book. You say you're going to write a screenplay, just do it. If it stinks, write another one. Keep meeting people, keep doing stuff. And if you're willing to just keep sticking with it and keep pushing the ball forward a little bit every day, you'll eventually get to where you want to be.
There you go. Darren Pouchowitz, new book, Good Advice from Professional Wrestling, Full Contact Life Lessons. And it sounds like you've learned a lot of lessons from being around wrestlers and pro wrestling, and you're very positive, and you're far more positive than I am on certain things, which is good.
Hey, thanks for having me, and hopefully there can be a volume 2 of the book. We'll see if that'll happen, and if so, maybe it'll be a quote from Evan Ginzburg in there.
Absolutely. I've been quoted in the most surreal books. A buddy of mine asked me to proofread his book on Saddam Hussein.
Okay.
Can you imagine?
Okay.
So I'm like, I'm happy. The guy's a friend of mine. I'm happy to proofread it, but it's weird to be acknowledged in something like that,
Well, in Saddam's defense, he was a big fan of the movie The Godfather, so at least he had good taste in movies.
My friend is like, he didn't kill as many people as they say he killed, and I'm like, I never killed anybody.
You killed him with kindness. That's what you did.
Anyway, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
My pleasure, Evan. Thank you
and
very
please
much.
come back.
Thank you.
We'd love to have you.
Thanks to you, and thanks to Jim. Take care now.
There you go. Okay.
The wrestling fan, they loved you or they hated you. If the fan loved you, they couldn't do enough for you. They want to buy your meal, they want to buy your drink. I think it was one of the main reasons that, whenever I stepped into the ring, I wanted to give back. I wanted to satisfy their reason for coming out and watching me wrestle.
I tell you what, I treated fans with respect and they loved me back. Whether I was a heel or a babyface, it didn't matter.
I learned right from the get-go with my parents that it was to appreciate every single fan that you got, everyone. I think that's one of the reasons I've had longevity in wrestling, is that I always treated my fans with a lot of respect.
They wanted to kill me trying to get to my car, and they always knew I was in a Cadillac or something, and it was, you were in fear for your life sometimes.
The New Jersey crowds were always great in the Boston Garden. It was dangerous at the Boston Garden.
The fans were believers in that era. They believed the doggone thing was real, and they were some of the fans were very violent.
I look back on it and I'm saying, well, you put up a lot of you know what, but you know something? That's what drove me to do it. Because the more those people hated me, more this I made.
I was being punched and kicked, and I was having beer thrown on me. I was being hit by chairs.
How angry do you want to make your wrestling fans? How much do you want to butcher up your baby faces until they're all bleeding and they're being beaten by 8 or 10 guys? How far can you push an audience before they lose it, and then you have the Alamo kind of thing?
Play with people's heads, You got to play with their minds. You got to play with them. Psychology. Because that's how you manipulate people. And that's what I do. That's what I did for a living. I manipulated you when you were a kid. I know I did. Because you probably didn't like me, or you might have liked me because I was that way. And a lot of people did. A lot of people didn't. Thank you for the living I made at it, people. You were very good to me.
Say, you're Bobby Rivers, right? Bobby barely registers and nods while he looks around for women. I love how you beat Willie Dean tonight. I hate that guy. Bobby looks at the bar and sees Willie Dean talking to two girls. Hey, Chris, kayfabe. He looks at the fan. Sorry, man, we stay here. There's going to be a fight. You know what I mean? Let's go, Chris. Chris asks, why didn't we stay? There wasn't going to be any fight. Listen, brother. Bert Ironside's rule number 1. Baby faces and heels do not socialize. Why? It's all about protecting the business. You don't tell your 5-year-old that there's no Santa Claus, and faces and heels do not sit in a bar full of marks drinking together. Kings of the Ring is the first audio drama podcast based on wrestling. Search Kings of the Ring from any podcast app or kingsotr.com.
All right, we are back with the Evan Ginzburg Show, and we have a full wrestling panel from Monty and the Pharaoh, Jimmy Pharaoh.
Hello out there.
There you go. Jim Phillips from the Gorilla position.
Good morning.
We have wrestler Chris Michaels, who has 7 other names, and he'll tell us later. Nia Kennedy, and back with us, Darren Pouchowitz from Good Advice from Professional Wrestling, Full Contact Life Lessons. So, we're going to do a Monty and the Pharaoh-ish open discussion on pro wrestling.
Sure, why not?
What's your take on AEW, guys?
Oh, boy. So far, so good, but I'm very tempered in my response to them. I think that they got a ton of potential. We have the new network coming, which is exciting. Right now, I'm looking at them optimistically to at least achieve what Impact did maybe 10 years ago, get 1.5 in the ratings for starters and see where it goes. They have a lot of challenges ahead of them. I'm not ready to declare them king, especially with a queen in the room, but that's how I feel about it. It's going to be interesting. I'm psyched. I think it's great for wrestling at the end of the day, Okay. That's how I feel about it.
And Jim, what's your take?
In this land where you've really only got one major promotion putting out product every week, I think variety's good.
Yep.
Are they going to be able to stand up to Vince right straight away? No, not at all. But variety's good. You know what I mean? I don't like necessarily the fanboy nation that's behind them sometimes, but yeah, any variety's good.
Why does it always have to be like us versus them?
I think it's the society that we're in right now. It's like people want to take a stand, and if you're not on their stand, then they're against you. It's either, you know what I mean? Right. It's an us and them type mentality. So I think
everything.
that's with everything.
With
politics,
everything.
Sports, everything.
Knowing Chris Michaels, I'm sure he hasn't watched this because he doesn't have much interest, right?
Well, I wanted to see it, but I figured let me see what goes on, because just like Jimmy says, things come, things go. Gets a good start. It's like relationships. Get off to a great start, and then So like I said, time will tell. I mean, time is the best thing, the best judge of everything. But I said years ago, when there was a choice, that you're watching that things are getting sucked up, and it's just like watching the Blob, and here comes the WWE, sucking everything up in its path. And it leaves you with no competition. It leaves you with no alternative. So you're stuck with this shoving down your throat. So the reason why pizza places could be on every street corner in Brooklyn is because it gives people choice. And if you tell me that there's not enough room in wrestling, I say, bullshit. Go down the goddamn bread aisle in your store and watch it on a day. It's going to snow. It's empty. And there's about 40 to 50 products on there, different companies. You say there's not enough room with baloney.
That's a better promo than anything I saw in Raw last week. What's going on here? Yeah. Passionate.
Yes.
Yeah. Naya, did you watch AEW?
No, I actually was working my own show that
there you go.
It's a good excuse.
I'm always optimist for new companies coming in and giving us something different, because like if you keep giving people the same thing, it's just like becomes redundant. It's like, they're doing the same stuff. They're doing the same formula as WWE or or as TNA and all that. So I'm excited about that, and I'm excited that there's a lot of good indie workers out there that are going to get an opportunity to have a choice to go there.
What do you think when you get some tremendous talent that goes to WWE and they're absolutely squandered? The first guy that comes to mind is EC3,
yep,
who was a big star in TNA.
Yes, he was.
Champion, I believe.
Yes, he was.
And I mean, now the
Bobby
guy's like
Roode.
off the mat. Bobby Roode.
Well, at least Bobby Roode was an effective NXT champion. They gave him the belt.
Well, they gave him
EC3 has come here and he just sits there to the side.
He's sitting at
It's horrible. He just
Memorial
sits
Day
there. It's
barbecue,
like
drinking juice.
the 24/7 thing. He's like a co-star on this. Our Truth runs by. Oh, look who's sitting there. It's EC3. What's he doing? Nothing.
24/7.
Nothing.
Wow.
Terrible.
Darren,
the
what's your
Scooby-Doo
take on
title.
this?
All these people are wrong about everything.
Well, so much for us.
See, he took a stand.
I hear a toilet flushing and flushing.
He healed up.
Come on.
You guys have hit the nail on the head. We do need an alternative as wrestling fans.
Yeah.
But at the same time, there are so many great alternatives in existence. So it's like the beginning of the relationship. He hit the nail on the head right there. Everyone's on their best behavior. But we shall see. But that first pay-per-view was great.
When the first person passes gas, that's when you know the relationship is,
my
comfortable.
God. You're a pretty smeller. I mean, smart fella. Ay, ay, ay.
I thought that was the pay-per-view of the year, and that last NXT Takeover pay-per-view was tremendous.
Last night? That was
the previous
Oh,
one. I
but
didn't
last
see,
night
I didn't
was
see
good.
last.
Oh, I can't ruin it for you.
I was watching
then.
the Anthony Joshua fight last night.
Okay, fair enough.
What fight?
What fight?
Okay, anyway.
Over.
That was a huge upset, by the way.
Yep.
So I thought the previous NXT Takeover was absolutely tremendous, but I thought AEW was better. It was a bigger show. It was more dramatic with Dustin and Cody, and for that reason, I would say it was a better show.
You'll enjoy last night's Takeover. Really.
I enjoy all of them.
Yeah, really good.
Yeah. I think that's the bright spot in WWE, the NXT Takeovers.
Consistency.
However, when I hear Triple H is a genius, I'm kind of like, well, ROH made most of those guys. And it's 6 times a year. Back in Jim Crockett days, they'd have 6 great shows a week.
Right.
A week.
Right.
Forget 6 great shows a year.
Right.
So their house shows are good or very good. Their TV is good or very good. But I don't think that makes anybody a genius.
I think that I'll tip my cap to Triple H on this. What he has effectively done with NXT is create a vibe that feels indie. Okay? There are aspects of Ring of Honor when you watch NXT. There are aspects of what we like from the indies. It's not so over the top and entertainment first. It is more wrestling based. So I think that what Triple H has done very wisely is pay attention to what's around him and do something similar but his own thing. And I think that's what made NXT so successful.
But why can't the house
so far.
shows, the NXT house shows, be great?
I can't speak for that. I haven't seen any in person.
I went to one.
It was a letdown?
It was a letdown.
That's a shame.
And it was a block. It was at the smaller theater at the Garden. And it was a block away from Hammerstein, where I saw all these great ROH shows. I go, this is like ROH Light. I've seen shows that were 10 times better a block away with ROH.
Evan, do you worry about ROH being affected by AEW's presence? Will it hurt them?
I think they're like TNA. They're gonna stick around one way or the other.
Okay. All right.
I mean, they were just at Madison Square Garden.
I just find it interesting that nobody's brought up, will AEW's presence hurt some of the other companies?
I just think it's another vehicle as
I
well.
hope so. I hope
Another
you're right.
place for
Should
people
be.
to go and work, because if you can't work for AEW, then why not try for ROH or
Right.
New Japan?
Right.
And then at some point in time they'll all collaborate. So
Right.
To see these guys excited to go to work somewhere too. They're you talking about they're stifled and stymied to the WWE, asking for their release. You know what I mean? To go work
Sasha
someplace
wants
else.
out.
That
Sasha
might be a
wants
roll
out.
of the dice.
I mean, just think
To
how
leave,
happy
to give
Jon
up that
Moxley-
guaranteed thing to take a chance. You know what I mean? What's that say about the working environment?
That's true.
What were you saying about Moxley?
Like Jon Moxley, like he was at the CAC to present Cody Hawk for the Trainer of the Year award, and he was still under WWE contract until midnight. At midnight is when that promo hit.
Nice.
You know, did you see the promo where
Yes,
he was like
I
in
did.
prison?
Yes,
Really,
I
that
did.
made such a statement of me finally being free.
And he used that fancy word at the end. I had to look it up. Yeah. What was that fancy word? I forgot already. It was so fancy.
So
Anyway.
I'm gonna throw this out to everybody, but Nair in particular. What's your take on the quote-unquote women's revolution? I'm not as sold on WWE's women. I mean, I've seen maybe a dozen truly great matches over 10 years. When you don't see a lot of Flair Steamboat in the, in the women's division.
To be fair, no.
I mean, it's great they're getting pushed. It's great they're, it's not like a strip show like it was 10 years ago.
Yeah.
What's your take on it?
I think that they have a lot of talented women, and I just think it's just opportunity you know, instead of like some of these ridiculous matches that they're doing, you know, give them more opportunities.
Does the writing
You know,
frustrate you? Because that's
I
what
think,
bothers me.
Yeah, you know, I want more wrestling and less bullshit.
Okay.
You know, do your promos, do your shows, you know, do your matches, and just that. You know, there's no need for backstage, you know, drama crap, you know, or
It's like-
you know,
it's like a bad
oh, you know, I'm
reality
sitting
show.
here flirting with your husband to distract
Yeah,
you.
yeah.
For I was like,
Let him wrestle.
yeah, let him wrestle.
You hear a lot of people talking about they don't want to get behind it or they haven't gotten behind it. I think they don't know what to do with it.
Yeah.
I think they had something that was a lightning rod. All these
Yeah.
people wanted the women's revolution.
Mhm.
They gave us a couple of really great matches, and then everything's went flat because they just don't know where to take this thing, and they don't know. I don't know if it's the creative or the this generation of writers. That's easy to point your finger at, but they don't know how to take that spark into the next level and keep your attention going there.
Well, what they need to do is go back and look at some of the old WWF footage.
Well, hey,
of,
anything
like,
old
the
is gonna be
Leilani
better
Kai
than
and Judy Martin and
Jumping Bomb Angels
you know,
and
yes,
Glamour
yeah.
Girls. You
know,
want to see
Princess-
real women's
Princess
wrestling? Go watch those
Victoria,
matches.
Sherry Martel,
Sherry
Wendy
Martel.
Richter. Look at that. That was successful.
Is
you
there
know?
any particular woman wrestler today that you feel frustrated for when you watch them not getting the push you think they deserve or attaining the heights you feel that they should be reaching?
Yeah.
Good.
There's a
In one
couple,
breath, too.
but definitely
That's a good
it would
question.
be Naomi.
Naomi.
I think that
What is
she's-
lacking with her? Because I feel like when I see her, there's some.
I think
something
with her,
like
it's frustration.
emotionally,
I
it's
think
not
maybe
connecting. What-
Frustration for something because when she came out during, you know, she was just like, you know, like being creative and coming out with her new like opening, you know, coming out with the glow and stuff like that. Very creative because nobody else is doing that.
Why have
You
they
know,
never
but she-
pulled the heel card with her?
That would be great.
We've never seen her other side.
That would be great.
Try
I
it.
would love it.
Oy.
I would love it. That would be great.
Vince.
I think they need. Definitely needs to be established more. Like Bliss, she's a great heel because
Mhm.
she'll sit
Oh.
there. She kind of reminds me of me. She'll be sitting
Awesome.
there smiling, and all of a sudden she'll be like,
Bitch mode.
"Yes,
Oh,
instantly."
amazing.
I'm frustrated at how they use Natty because Natty was a
Tremendous wrestler.
Yeah.
Oh,
wrestler.
unbelievable.
Yeah, I just want to see her wrestle.
One of
And
the
they
few
turned
real
her into-
wrestlers
They
in
turned
the
her
game.
to
Technician.
mommy in charge of all the girls. You know,
Yeah.
like we want you to bring this girl up, and it's just like she doesn't have the ounce of talent that I have.
As an old school fan, I would love to see Natty wrestle Charlotte Flair or whomever. Just give them 20 minutes and let them have a great match.
That would be,
That's
and
all I
they,
wanna
and they would
see.
deliver.
Without any stupid angles,
Exactly.
without any run-ins, just let them do.
Thoughts on Dana Warrior getting a promotion? She's now in charge of writing. I want to slam my head against the wall.
Yeah.
Anyway, how do you feel about it? I'm sorry.
I love this guy.
Do we have coffee?
Darren, what's your take on the women's division?
I don't think there's enough contract signing segments. I think
Yeah, yeah.
three times more
That's right.
replays and contract signing
love it.
segments
That's
in
right.
case we didn't watch the first hour of the show.
That's right.
Yes.
Oh, there are a lot of super kicks because I don't watch.
Yeah, super kicks.
So we have a no comment on Dana Warrior.
Yeah.
Just get me coffee. Okay.
Yeah.
Get a coffee.
I'll publicly say that I don't know why she is the widow that WWE embraces because
Interesting.
there are wonderful, wrestlers who had supportive wives. So, for example, Vicky Guerrero.
And she
Oh,
did a great
man.
job when
Hello.
they brought her in. Oh man,
Yes,
she
she
came with
did.
the top
Yeah.
heels.
Yes, she did.
And still to this day, people still embrace her at the fan fests and all that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, why are they so eager to do business with Warrior? That's one of my questions. Because yes, he was one of the greats of that era.
Yes.
If you're talking about popularity and crossover
Absolutely.
appeal. But like maybe John Tenta has a widow. Like there's a lot of great people that they're not shining a light on.
Owen Hart had a wife too,
yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
So you're
How about
saying
her?
that
What
it's
about that
actually
widow?
for commercial benefit to have her in this position?
No.
I'm just saying. Might as well spell it out. You know?
You know why her? You know?
You know how I feel already. I already need medication over it.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
So,
Travesty.
in our next segment, we're going to talk about indie wrestling specifically, since everybody beats WWE to death.
Oh, my
So,
God.
I think we should use our airtime, to promote indie wrestling.
Okay.
But before we do that, everybody, plug anything you want to plug.
Well, every Thursday at 8:05 on Village Connection Network, you can see Long Island's #1 pro wrestling podcast, Monty and the Pharaoh. You can also catch new weekly episodes of 5 Minutes with the Pharaoh on the 5 Minutes with the Pharaoh Facebook channel. Jimbo?
Likewise, on Thursday, I come out every week with an article at thegorillaposition.com, senior editor over there. We do
Every
Life
week?
Through the
Wow.
Lens. Life Through the Lens. It's a really great series where the wrestlers get to look back, how the business has affected them. You know what I mean? Different things like that. The Wrestling Territories series is wrapping up. That book should be out by the end of the summer.
I don't know if you know this, but I'm going to make my debut on the gorilla position.
Really?
Yeah, Ryan. I was talking to Ryan.
Nice.
Get a load of
Great
this.
guy.
And
Yes.
Give his last name.
Ryan Bowman,
Ryan Bowman.
editor-in-chief.
Yeah, I'm going.
Him and Michael Melkor as well. The three, we try and spearhead.
I had a long talk with Ryan, and I'm going to write for you guys. And
Excellent.
But I said to him, when I write, I need to be inspired because, like, I'm not like Darren, where I'm always positive about all of this stuff. Like I watch,
You?
I watch WWE.
Get outta here.
I watch WWE, and I'll get into like a funk because I'm like they're squandering.
Not Terry either.
They're squandering the greatest talent base in history on 3 hours.
Sits there with a box of
nonsense.
Kleenex,
3 hours of-
watching the pay-per-view with a box of
interviews and
Kleenex,
replays, like
bottle
like
of
you
rum in the
said.
other hand. Oh, you-
Darren, as a writer, do you get a little tired of every single match and every single angle on WWE Raw, SmackDown is overanalyzed to the point where it's like it's enough already?
You just hit the nail on the head there. If it's not a 3-hour show, it's not worthy of being a 3-hour show. If they put it down to 60 to 90 minutes and some of the segments still stunk, I wouldn't mind watching 60 to 90.
Like they do on Hulu.
Like they
Like
do
they
on
do
Hulu.
on Hulu. There you
Hit the nail
go.
on the
And
head.
speaking of nail on the head, can we put it through Renee Young? I can't anymore.
But why does it have to be
Yeah.
so overanalyzed? Every angle is.
Please.
I love
Yeah,
her.
what's left to the
Oh.
imagination?
I like her
If you're
husband.
telling us how to
I
feel.
thought she was great with interviews, but I can't take the color commentary. It's colorless.
And
That's
the
just
audio
how I
is
feel.
messed up. I don't know what
Her
it is
li-
about her mic.
Her lines are so spoon-fed. You could
Yeah.
tell. Can I have some realism with my color commentary? Blech.
I just hope they're
Indie wrestling, Evan, please.
Yeah.
You're not getting a lot of realism with anything.
And
right
any
now.
other plugs before we
Yeah,
take
plug
a
away.
quick break?
Okay, well.
Not 6 months from now, Bill.
Oh no,
The next-
Saturday, June 8th, which is coming up real soon.
Real soon.
That's right. It's
Certainly.
coming up. Certainly is. That's ECPW. It's in Staten Island. That's Saturday, June 8th at the St. Anne's School in Staten Island, New York. The Team Splendid will be in attendance. So you will see Simply Splendid Bobby C. and myself. And one of my other names, as Evan said, I got like at least 7 of them, right?
Yeah.
I am Simply Sensational Fabio Luss. And to my opponents,
Fabio Luss.
I can't believe you're not better. So,
Well, that takes care of them.
All right.
Oy.
now we also have coming up June 22nd. Evan Ginzburg's got the gimmick. That's that
Look at
wrestling
this.
term.
Holy prop.
Here we go. Here we.
Oh.
It's a tribute. JL Chico, and they're also doing
Pedro
a
Morales.
special. They're special honoring. They're honoring Pedro Morales and his many accomplishments in wrestling when it was a mostly lily white sport.
This is true.
And
This is true.
So this new Evolution Wrestling, June 22nd, we will be the main event. Team Splendid, Rage, KC Lycon, Rage. Actually, let me gimmick it up. Rage, I've beaten you like a dog that had an accident on a brand new shag carpet. Now it is time to take the rage out of you. I'm going to do what Ritalin and Adderall cannot do. I am going to take the temper out of rage. I will calm you like the sea, like Jesus calming the sea. I will neuter you like a little chihuahua. Casey Lycon, we are going to snap you like a twig. And then we are going to beat rage with you.
And teach him to never put his hands on the queen again.
He did what? Oh, this is getting personal.
Now, yes. He put his hands on the queen. He gave her the F5. Rage,
And
the
a
fan
favorite.
favorite. You see, I guess your best wasn't good enough. I can't believe you're not better.
Yeah, she looks fine to me. What a wuss.
So, now I'm
There you go.
back.
Naya,
Nice.
anything you want to plug?
June 22nd for Legendary Action Wrestling will be at the 14B rooftop. Is a big soccer building in Brooklyn. It's called.
Is it an actual rooftop?
It's like they do have a rooftop. Yes, they do. It has a
You could always
beautiful
throw
view.
one of the guys off the rooftop. You know? They like to do that in wrestling.
Joey Janela,
Wall fell
Batman.
off a rooftop, right? Oh, yeah.
And then on Friday, June 28th, it's back on BCW for Summer on Smash. Come check us out.
Yeah.
There you go.
See the Sazuchin squad destroy more people.
Nice.
Okay.
Body
Darren?
count.
And thanks again for having me on. Good Advice from Professional Wrestling is the new book. DDP wrote the foreword to that. And every other week, we have the Paltrowcast with Darren Paltrowitz podcast. This week has Rob Halford from Judas Priest,
nice.
Carmella
Sweet.
from WWE, and Steve Lukather from Toto. It's pretty diverse.
An eclectic mix, you would say.
That's right.
There you go.
Someone's got to do it.
So WWE provides guests for podcasts?
No.
How'd you work that out?
Oh boy.
No. I was offered Carmella, aka Leah Van Dale, to promote her wine from her wine publicist.
Oh, okay.
And hey, she's on there. And DDP, that was a direct one because I've known him for a bit. And Jericho, I got that through his book publisher. So
Nice.
sometimes you got to do the non-WWE route and know that they hate your guts.
Well, now that Vince knows, he's going to find a way to close this loop. Oh, no, you don't. You're fired.
And since we're on that subject, you've interviewed some of the greatest names in the history of this business.
Especially lately.
Who were your 1 or 2 or 3 greatest interviews, and who might you say were the biggest disappointments?
Oh.
Put you on the spot.
Yeah, you just did. Oh, my Lord.
Disco.
Disco was great today, by the way.
It was.
Yeah.
Disco Inferno was awesome today. Well, my all-time favorite is Greg Valentine, so my aspirations were really high that day, and I was nervous as could be. Greg Valentine was awesome, so he's one of my favorites. Larry Zbyszko was fantastic when he was in with us. I was really happy about him. Billy Jack Haynes, they could say what they want. Billy Jack Haynes now twice has been just awesome guy. As far as the letdowns,
Can I throw one in there?
sure, man,
I'm
please.
not even a wrestling fan.
Please.
but I think
There's been so many.
The idiot you had in yesterday was a real letdown.
Say it.
Sorry.
Scott Hall, I've watched you since I was a teenager. And for some reason, Scott Hall basically just decided to bolt on us yesterday. I don't know, man. I don't know how to feel about it. I just know this much, when you grow up loving somebody and then they come on your show and they say how appreciative they are of the people who grew up watching them, and then they turn around and basically dustpan you out the door.
I mean,
I wasn't happy. Let's just put it that way. I mean, you went there, you wanted to know, and that was pretty disappointing. Is it going to make a difference when I watch him on the network? No. But nice job, man. You almost damaged me. Almost.
I'm still traumatized.
Try next time.
As a kid, I would stand outside the Garden, and Dusty Rhodes and Andre the Giant would never once sign an autograph for us kids. Not once.
And you're still defending the Andre to this day, though, despite the fact that he was.
Oh, they were great performers.
Well, there you go. I guess I'll have to put this in my circular file. What can I do?
Put it through the shredder. The
Yeah.
cross-cut shredder.
I mean, oddly
O.J.
enough,
Simpson was a great football player.
he sure was. Yeah. I mean, oddly enough, Marty Jannetty, we had that whole thing with Marty. I have tons of respect for Marty. Ironically, at the end of the day, after even getting physical with Marty, I have nothing but respect for
You have
Marty.
to separate the
weird business,
the
man.
artist from the person, because people are flawed.
Anybody
But
else?
sometimes they can't.
Anybody else ever
too.
been let down by somebody that was a hero to you? Anybody want to share something like that since you opened this can of worms?
You know what? I just get to the point now where I don't be surprised anymore. Just like, okay, I guess I don't have that high expectation anymore.
Right.
I just take a person as they are. And if I don't want to be around them,
Right.
hi, we can be friends, but you stay over there.
Right.
How you doing?
How about you, sir?
I'm not going to go down this road because it never ends well, but
You put me down it. Now start
but
driving.
Drag him
What
into
the
the
heck? Oi! I got Scott Halls want to kill me now. Go on.
Every once in a
Jeez.
while, I'll go online and I'll see like a childhood hero, and I'll just like cringe at their politics. Cringe. Cringe. Again, you have to disassociate.
But how about
the two.
in person when anybody?
Like
ever-
I said, as a kid, we just loved Andre and Dusty. These guys were like the biggest stars in the world. They wouldn't even look at you, and we're kids.
The
I'm
son
not
of a
gonna-
plumber, the common man, won't even look at Evan Ginzburg. No one else is outraged.
Young Evan Ginzburg.
That's
And-
even
Little
worse.
Evan Ginzburg.
That's
And,
even worse.
What's his name?
Not even involved in politics yet. Jeez.
The biggest disappointment with a movie star. I once saw Bruce Willis.
Oy.
There was a mob of fans,
Oy.
and again, he wouldn't even look at them.
Wow.
He wouldn't even look at them,
Wow.
and you just go, I don't like this guy. You know,
He's a heel in real life.
you know, you could just say, I'm in a rush. I'm really sorry. It was like they were beneath him. I was watching this.
It's like me when I go to the ring.
Whenever they were filming I think it was The Marshal, it had Wesley Snipes and Tommy Lee Jones, a movie back a few years ago. It was filmed close to the Mississippi River, not far from where my family lived. And those two actors, was like the total opposite. Like Wesley Snipes was glad handing everybody, eating at the local restaurant, and Tommy Lee Jones was like, wouldn't even give you the time of day. You know what I mean? So it's the same kind of scenario.
Anyway, on that happy note,
You just don't want to be bothered by people.
we'll take a break and come back and talk indie wrestling to wrap up the show. We'll be right back, folks.
Say, you're Bobby Rivers, right? Bobby barely registers and nods while he looks around for women. I love how you beat Willie Dean tonight. I hate that guy. You know, I can't. Bobby looks at the bar and sees Willie Dean talking to two girls. Hey, Chris, kayfabe. He looks at the fan. Sorry, man, we stay here. There's going to be a fight. Know what I mean? Let's go, Chris. Chris asks, why didn't we stay? There wasn't going to be any fight. Listen, brother. Bert Ironside's rule number 1. Baby faces and heels do not socialize. Why? It's all about protecting the business. You don't tell your 5-year-old that there's no Santa Claus, and faces and heels do not sit in a bar full of marks drinking together. Kings of the Ring is the first audio drama podcast based on wrestling. Search Kings of the Ring from any podcast app or kingsotr.com.
The wrestling fan, you know, they loved you or they hated you. You know, if the fan loved you, they couldn't do enough for you. You know, they want to buy your meal, they want to buy your drink. I think it was one of the main reasons that, you know, whenever I stepped into the ring, I wanted to give back. I wanted to satisfy their reason for coming out and watching me wrestle.
I tell you what, I treated fans with respect and they loved me back. Whether I was a heel or a babyface, it didn't matter.
I learned right from the get-go with my parents that it was to appreciate every single fan that you got, every one. You know, I think that's one of the reasons I've had longevity in wrestling is that I always treated my fans with a lot of respect.
They wanted to kill me trying to get to my car, and they always knew I was in a Cadillac or something. And it was, you know, you were in fear for your life sometimes.
The New Jersey crowds were always great in the Boston Garden. It was dangerous at the Boston Garden.
The fans were believers in that era. They believed the doggone thing was real. And they were some of the fans were very violent.
I look back on it and I'm saying, well, you put up a lot of you know what. But you know something? That's what drove me to do it. Because the more those people hated me, more of this I made.
I was being punched and kicked, and I was having beer thrown on me. I was being hit by chairs.
How angry do you want to make your wrestling fans? How much do you want to butcher up your baby faces until they're all bleeding and they're being beaten by 8 or 10 guys? I mean, how far can you push an audience before they lose it and then you have the Alamo kind of thing?
Play with people's heads, you know. You gotta play with their minds, you gotta play with them. Psychology. Because that's how you manipulate people. And that's what I do. That's what I did for a living. I manipulated you when you were a kid. I know I did. Because you probably didn't like me, or you might have liked me because I was that way. And a lot of people did. A lot of people didn't. Thank you for the living I made at it, people. You were very good to me.
And we are back with the Evan Ginzburg Show at villageconnectionradio.com. Jim Savali, our owner and engineer at the helm. And we have our wrestling panel, our esteemed panel, journalists, wrestlers, managers, and radio host. So,
You said manager, right?
That's right.
manager. Valet is an insult, correct?
That's right.
Correct?
I thought you were going to say fanboy / radio host.
Fanboy.
Well, since you mentioned that,
That's why you got the passion. That's why you
wrestling too much.
you guys are yelling over, huh? Yeah.
I wouldn't say insult. I think it's two different roles.
Yes.
You know, where I get more involved for being a wrestler for so many years, and now being a manager, I get more involved. So I don't think it's an insult. It's just that when people automatically, somewhere you're a valet, get in the ring.
Right.
Call me valet again.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Valets usually don't dish out beatings.
No.
So, what is the line, since obviously fanboy has a negative connotation?
You can call me a jobber if you want. Go ahead.
I would
Say
never
it.
do
Jobber.
such a thing.
No, I wear that badge. I'm a teacher.
You
that's
held
a jobber.
ECW tag gold. I'm not calling you a jobber. Anyway.
What is the line between, an avid fan and a fanboy? Where do you cross that line into?
Well,
it
first-
If
being
you
a
own
negative?
every replica belt,
Oh,
you're a
And sleep
fanboy.
with it, you're probably a fanboy.
When you're carrying around a $349 24/7
Yeah.
ugly green belt across your shoulder, is that the line?
Well, that's the thing that's not going to get you laid. I'll tell you that.
I don't even know. I don't even know what a fanboy technically is in the first place, to tell you the truth. But as far as I go, I feel like I'm kind of like Jim. I'm a wrestling historian. I'm actually into the statistics of wrestling. I treat it the way I would baseball. May be strange for some of you, but not for me.
Right.
It's real to me. It's still real
It's
to
the
me.
love that you have for the sport.
I love it.
And you know what? If it weren't for people like you, there wouldn't be people like me. You know,
There you
like
go.
I say, like when people say, "Oh, you watch wrestling and you wrestle," it was like, "Oh, like yeah, I was a fan before I got into the business, and what's kept me in all these years is being a fan of it. Yeah, I watch it to stay current and update and see what's going on and everything, you know. But in the day, there's nothing wrong with being a fan. You know, my problem is, with being a fan, my problem with some fans is. You know, and people always say, "Oh, you're in the public eye, so you should expect this to happen." No, you know, there's a time and place for everything. If I'm out with my kids, you know, especially back in the day, if I'm out with kids, leave me alone. If I'm sitting down eating dinner, have the common courtesy to wait till after I've eaten or before. If you see me in the restaurant, come to me before my meal
Right.
gets there. You know,
Right.
don't come and interrupt me and start talking to me while my food is sitting there getting cold after I've driven like 20-something hours and then did a match and like got to go to my hotel and sleep after I've eaten and get up and drive another 20 hours, you know.
Right.
It's just like,
Well, there you have it, Evan. I'm not a mark, because when Greg Valentine was sleeping in the truck, I wasn't waking him up.
That's it.
Hey, Greg! Hi! Hi! I'm Mark!
yeah.
No! So I'm not a mark. That's good news. How about you? Would you wake up Greg Valentine if he was in
No.
Okay. Yeah. 0 for 2.
You know, and now with social media, you know, and now your fans have even more access to you, you know, and then they think that it's okay, mostly the foreign fans, to call you on Facebook at 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, or like think that when you accepted their friend request that was you interested in them, and they start sending you lewd comments or pictures, and that's an automatic block. And
Automatic block.
And if
Hello, you are so beautiful. Open your boobs.
And if I'm in a bad mood that day, then I'm gonna blast you on social media like I did this guy recently, you know. And it's just
Yes.
like,
Yes.
you know, come on now, have some common courtesy. It's like, just because I don't put a lot of my personal business on my page, but that doesn't mean I don't have somebody in my life, you know. So just because you don't know it, that doesn't mean that you can come at me any kinds of ways. And I love it sometimes, but like my older sons, like somebody comments something inappropriately on my page, they'll come at you instantly. You know, they don't care, you know, who you are. Sometimes I have to say he's just joking, and like I don't care. You know, you don't say those things. They
No,
see
you
it
don't
one
do that to
way.
mom.
Yeah,
Don't matter. Don't
yeah,
matter.
you know,
That's
and then one of my
that's
sons is an
persona non grata.
ex-wrestler,
You don't do
so
that.
like he will.
Well, you got to approach people the right way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, even like at the CAC and the places that I go, the different things, I've gotten that reception too. And it's like, if you walk up, you just can't walk up to these guys and automatically ask for autographs and pictures. I've been around this business for a long time. I can count on 2 hands the autographs and the pictures that I own, because I'm not in it for that. It's about, what are you going to do in the ring? You know what I mean? How are you going to represent the history and the quality of this business that I'm looking for? But you get there, like I saw JR and the King in the Applebee's at the CAC.
Oh, we're having her singing.
Walked right. I told her, I said, I'm going to walk up to these guys, and
Yeah,
I don't know if that's a good
I warned
idea.
him.
You know what I
warned
mean?
him.
But when I approached him, I was like, look, excuse me, and I just want to say thank you for what you've done to the business. I don't need an autograph. I don't need a picture. And I just want to let you know that I've been watching you for all these years. And is that fanboyish? I think it's me making contact with a piece of the history of the business that I've grown to love. I didn't need a bunch of merchandise signed. I didn't walk up with spinner belts. You know what I mean? Can you sign this? I said,
What was
thank
their
you.
reaction?
The first thing Jerry Lawler said was, "What's the gorilla position?" Because I did give him a business card. I'm not, I'm not a dummy. I get here's my business card. But he was like, he asked me about the gorilla position, and we had a laugh between each other. King said, "It's a dirt sheet. It's a dirt." Or JR said, "It's a dirt sheet, King."
Oh, a dirt sheet, huh?
So now, and it was good. You know what I mean? But if you approach these guys the right way,
right,
and it's the difference between a success and a loss.
Yeah, it's all in the approach. In life in general, it's all about the approach.
There are certain things that actually creep me out in fandom. For example, it's 3 a.m. and the guy posts, "I miss Chris Benoit," and I'm like, dude, this is what you're thinking about 3 a.m? That's scary.
Yeah.
You know? I mean, there's something like not right there.
Did you send a hotline number in a comment? Call this number, man.
Well, people. Oops, sorry. People seem to think that, I don't know, in wrestling, it's where we do what we do. Like she said, we're accessible and whatnot. You talk about approaching folks. I introduced myself to Vince McMahon when I was working. I walked up and said, "Hi, Vince. I'm Bill. I'm so thankful for this opportunity. I don't know if I would ever get a chance to thank you any other time. I figured I'd just take this opportunity."
Yeah.
And he was, off I went. That was it.
Respectful assertiveness.
Everybody remembers Vincent D'Onofrio from Full Metal Jacket, also the star from Law and Order: Criminal Intent.
Yes, I love him.
I was working in Manhattan. I was inside of this stock room in I'm not going to mention the company's name. I heard the voice. I used to be on CB radio for years when I was a kid, so I know something about voice recognition. I heard that voice. I said, I know that voice.
Very distinctive.
And I looked. He was looking into the stock room, and I looked. I saw him, so went out, and I, just went out there. This first looked around a minute to make sure he didn't, I just walked up there and said, "Hey, want to say the show hasn't been the same since you left it. Really love the character, love what you did with it. I see you with your child. I don't want to bother you.
Yeah.
But I hope they bring you back. Because it's not the same without you." And that was it. That's what. And I think if you do that without that, "Oh my God,
yeah,
can I get you out of here?" It is kind of scary because you come to wrestling shows. You get some folks that are pretty scary. They come there and, some of them, if they bathe before the show, it's actually, it's a good thing. And she knows what I'm talking about. They're just,
Ever have any guests like that?
yeah.
Right.
Yeah, true. Well, we had our share of workers, Boss Hog, Calhoun, there was Big Jack Martin. Good Lord, this guy stunk to high heaven. Just, I mean, the guy had no talent whatsoever.
Now he's been traumatized. I can see by your face.
Oh, you have no idea.
Disgust.
This guy probably had.
Is he still alive?
I think so, and I think he's probably bigger than ever. I think they could make a new cable series called My 800-Pound Mike.
You should challenge him to a speed stick on a pole match.
On purpose.
Actually, our good old buddy Duke the Pitbull Snyder used to call him the Kame Kid. He said he's kind of like you throw a bar of Kame soap at him. It's like throwing a cross up to a vampire.
This is bad.
Yeah. I hope he doesn't see this show.
The poor guy. He's getting roasted.
I'm sure he's gonna jump onto the flatbed truck and drive out here because there's really nothing else he could fit in.
Oh my God.
Oh, hey, look, I would have no problem. Let him come and try to do something. All they got to do is kick his knee and it's lights out. He's gonna crumble under his weight. No problem. One side kick.
The important thing is you like him. I can tell.
Yeah, like a canker sore.
Oh my God.
I would fanboy over meeting in person. And I love this man so much.
Shamar Moore?
Here it comes.
No.
Here it comes.
Oh my God. Now his name escapes me.
Jeff Goldblum.
Jeff Goldblum.
Oh,
Jeffrey Goldblum?
I always hear. I
I'm
always
so
heard he's a super
confused.
nice
That was
guy.
like the last thing I was thinking.
He is the sexiest man too. He's got
Something
swag.
about The Fly?
He's got,
I mean,
no, it's not The Fly. He's got swag like no other.
Swag like no other.
I always heard he was a good guy.
Well, I think of
Yes.
Goldblum, I think of The Rock. Swag like no other?
I love
don't
him.
know what's
You know,
going
it's
on.
funny.
Did you see Independence Day when him and Will Smith are walking in the desert after they crashed the mothership?
Okay.
And he's walking. That's swag.
Look
I
at
loved
his
him in
face.
the
I
Big
have to
Chill.
go back and study this.
I loved him in the Big Chill.
Okay.
He was great in the Big
Okay.
Chill. I loved him in
Okay.
all the Jurassic Parks he was in. I
Oh,
love that man. I
interesting.
would. I mean, like, he
Mark
lives
out.
here in California, but he's been spending most of his time in California. I said, if I come across this man, me and his wife are going to have a situation.
Yeah.
Oh my God!
We're gonna have to set a
That's
trap.
how you really feel. Hey.
You know what I find funny? I could meet the biggest star and not mark out. But if it's like somebody from your childhood who may not be nearly as big a star, but in your perception, like yesterday I met Eddie Holman. You know, Hey There, Lonely Girl, and I'm an R&B guy, and I'm like, wow, it's Eddie Holman. You know, which isn't the biggest name in the world, but to me it's important.
Yeah.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
And you kind of like,
What can I say? I marked out for Dr. Smith from Lost in Space, Jonathan Harris.
okay.
Oh dear!
Okay.
I lost my mind.
Alone.
Yeah.
I'm all
I
alone.
lost my mind.
I'm laughing at you say Shamar Moore.
Well, you know.
I would lose it over him too, but he's not married, so
Well, that's.
he's doing a great job playing Hondo.
Let me just do a couple quick indie plugs. IWW debuts in Queens June 29, and Imani Labels. You know him?
Well, he's actually was. I think he talked to me a little bit.
Yeah.
And he was mentioning that he has got a full roster. I don't know any. I didn't even ask who he has on there, but you know, I threw the name Team Splendid out there, so we'll see.
And
Never
also our buddies at SWF. They're always running every weekend.
They're probably the busiest indie company that I know of that's on the East Coast. They have a show coming up for the Passaic Valley Elks Lodge. I just got booked on it, so it evades me. But I think it's June. It may be June 29th. It may be toward the end of the month. It's a Saturday, but I believe that. But it's going to benefit the Passaic Elks Lodge. There will be updates again. I'll be posting stuff on my personal page too. And Evan, I'm doing the same thing you're doing. I'm hitting the lavalier.
Yeah.
But SWF's a great company. They do a lot for their community out in New Jersey. They get involved with the Elks Lodge. They get involved with the VFWs. They've worked with. Trying to think. They've done. I can't think of the name of the people, but they work with bringing back cremains of veterans.
Wow.
And to reunite them with their families. And I forget, I'm not sure what the total is, but they've gotten several veterans returned home. And, you know, for guys like me and Jim, you know, it chokes me up. Because, you know, when guys go out, kiss the families, they don't know if they're coming back. You know, my son did that for 12 years. Deployed to Afghanistan several times.
Wow.
And, you know, it's a tough thing. You know, it's tough, but they do this for their community. They've done the Fight for Val. In other words, Fight for Val, July 13th. We went out there a little while back. You know, kid with cerebral palsy. The contractors screwed the family over, and they just left right in the middle of renovations. They were trying to make it handicapped accessible for them. Well, I mean, the whole community got behind. They were having spaghetti dinners, pancake breakfast. I mean, community where they live in that part of New Jersey. I tell you, I appreciate how they do that there.
Besides all their obviously much needed charitable work, what is it that's made SWF more successful than the rest of the territories around there?
They hustle.
Yes.
These guys are out constantly. Old school flyers, posters. It's not just put something on the pretty Facebook page or
in the
website.
tri-state area, is this the best of the independent companies to choose from right now?
It depends what your definition
If
of
you are-
best is.
if-
But
I'm just curious
They
as to
run
what's
as,
out there.
as
Well, if you're
much
looking
as
for a company
anybody.
that's trying, and like I said, they hustle. Rob Fury, who is the co-owner of SWF, I broke him in. He's my wrestling son, and the thing that I told him, and it stuck with him all these years, he said, If you quit, you're never going to know your full potential. So you got to be stubborn. And he's Italian, so he's stubborn. So I said, you got to be stubborn. Don't worry about what people have to say, because at the end of the day, they don't pay your bills. They could eat shit and die. Plain and simple. But yeah, you're gonna screw. He's had some screw ups where I've called him up and left 3-minute voicemails and lost my voice for 3 days after screaming at him. But he manned up. He went on social media. He admitted his fault. He corrected everything with all the guys. He squared up, and he earned respect back from a lot of people. People that had, that we had a 4-year separation where I wasn't even there. I was hot, but time went by, and I came to the realization to say, here's a guy that never said anything bad about me. As mad as I was at him, pissed as I was, he never said anything bad about me. Just nope. I owe everything to him.
You guys,
he didn't give me that chance.
You guys both have decades of experience in the Indies. What would you do to change anything in the Indies? Is there anything you'd like to see change to make it better?
Territories again.
Yep.
Territories
Yep.
again?
Yep.
Can you
Wouldn't it be
explain that?
nice?
Well, they're kind of doing that with SWF. They're doing that because they're doing open tryout camps, and the last time I think they had like maybe 12 different indies represented out there watching these guys showcase themselves. So, I mean, they are. I mean, years back we did talk about that. I said,
how can you effectively branch out into like a territory feel with indies? How would you accomplish this?
I think right here it's probably a little harder because now, compared to when I was in the business and we were doing territories, there weren't as many indie scenes. So it was possible for us, being a Colorado-based company, to go to California, to go to Arizona, New Mexico, North Dakota, South Dakota, Iowa, Nebraska, Oregon, all those areas, and be able to put on a good show because there wasn't any promotion in every single town, So we didn't have to worry about putting a show on in Victorville, California, and there being 3 more shows in Victorville, California, and maybe at a half an hour down the road in Barstow, there being shows there too, because that was our
So
spot as
saturation is an issue
Yeah.
today.
Yeah, and I think if
Anybody can buy a
promoters would
ring
just
and
collaborate
think they're a
more
promoter.
and work together and produce some joint ventures instead of against each other, I think they would do so much better.
I'll
Get
go-
all your fans together.
I'll go right back to the bread aisle analogy. It's the other way it's effectively going to work. Everybody is trying to copy Vince. The people that try to copy Vince are the ones that they're flash in the pans. You got something going out here long on, big fat cars running another show again. Fat fuck that doesn't have no business in the ring.
You have a problem with fat people.
No, I got a problem with fat, untalented charlatans that injure people thinking that they're
You
trainers.
forgot to mention people who beat on women too. You
That's the
forgot to
same thing I'm
mention
talking about, chopping the
I'm
shit out of that
sorry,
girl.
did I mention that? I mentioned
Chopping
that.
up a
Yeah.
girl. So,
Evan, you
open,
wouldn't like
and
to
I would
be
say
known.
it.
Let's put it that way. You wouldn't
I don't
be-
know anything.
I can turn her loose on you. I can take care of you myself.
I would no. Let her take care of him.
See, as big as you are, you're not a tough guy. You can take a
dear
chop, but you're
God.
not a tough guy.
Oy.
I will put you in cardiac arrest.
I think I started
Understand
something.
that.
I'm
You're
sorry.
not messing with a child. You're messing with an Army veteran.
Oy.
Remember that.
Say goodnight, Gracie.
Get out of the business, Kaz. Get out of the business. Because back in the day, we would have taken you out the old school way.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
You're putting a shit stain on this business. With you and your yarders. Your little skinny little wannabes. Now, I'm sorry, but you're the shit stain on this business that's causing everything we're
I just
having.
had the same guy.
Tennis
I
shoes
made a
and
lot
kick
of money,
pads.
but I can't
Congratulations.
pay
Yeah,
Some
made a lot of
serious
money, but can't
indie
pay
heat
anybody.
right there.
And I was watching.
Oy.
I'm watching the money being counted in the back. It made a lot of money. Everybody went there. That's the hot dog and handshake right there for you.
Evan, what can be done to control
The commission-
the obvious these training camps? Anyone could be a trainer. Any thoughts on how we can control that? Get that under control?
I think Chris
Licensing?
Michaels could discuss it better than
Licensing?
Just your thoughts, though. I
Yeah,
mean, you
Licensing the wrestlers like we used to do. You had to have a legitimate, recognized, trained a wrestling school. Someone that was legit. Someone that had a name.
Johnny Rod.
Like,
When did
like
this
Johnny
come to an
Rods.
end, licensing?
Some years back when it became sports entertainment.
Oy.
And you had to have a letter of recommendation from the wrestling school saying to the New York State Athletic Commission that you are competent in this sport to where you are duly able to be licensed as a professional wrestler. You had to get fingerprinted. You had to have an EKG.
Fingerprinted?
Yes, background check,
Imagine this,
everything.
Jimbo.
They treated you like a lethal weapon.
to wrestle.
They treated just like the same thing they did for boxers. Is the same thing.
Wow.
The same thing.
Interesting.
And now it's quality control. There is, it's like no regulation.
The Click hugged at the Garden? Oh, it's kayfabe? Now we don't get fingerprinted anymore?
It's sports entertainment now.
Yeah.
That's why.
Oh, man, it's
Because
still just
before,
as dangerous as it ever
when
was.
Dr. D, David
I
Schultz,
don't get it.
slapped John Stossel.
Yeah.
He was put up to do that because you come out of there to saying wrestling's fake, and he wanted to say, I want to ask you the standard question. I think this is fake. Well, wait a second. That was a cocky fucking statement. So you did get the shit slapped out of you. Cup the hand, boom, 1 ear, 2 ears. Here you go. You're 20% hearing loss, both ears.
Oy.
Be a condescending son of a bitch the next time you want to talk to somebody and try to discredit what they do for a living.
Bill's on fire today.
There you go.
That is a great piece of video.
The thing
The
is, it's like
2020,
they
the 2020
always
piece
talk
of
about
video
it
is
being
a
fake,
great piece of footage.
But they don't realize the training we go through. They don't realize also some of us are trained in other forms of fighting as well. And that's they don't understand, oh, you just wrestle. Like some of us, some guys wrestled in high school and college all their lives, played football, MMA, boxing, stuff like that. Like I did boxing, I
Ran
did
from
martial
police.
arts.
Oh, that was me.
You know, but at the end of the day, it's like everything that's being done, if we wanted to, we could destroy you with it. You know? It's just like, you know, I guess you just can't.
When you talk to the older legends, inevitably, and I'm sure you guys could jump in, they'll tell you, my hip replacement wasn't fake, my knee replacement wasn't fake, my bad back isn't fake, my 3 divorces aren't fake, and my kid's not talking to me isn't fake.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's been taking me a half an hour to get out of bed every day. That's not fake. You know, all the concussions I've had, that's not fake.
Right.
Well, like I remember the good old days, the days without back pain.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, yeah. What's that?
Yeah.
There's no back pain. You know, oh, man, all the football games my son played that I missed. You know, the school plays, the football games that I missed.
I interviewed Sherry Martell 3 a.m, and she said, I didn't see my kid grow up. I was on the road for 15 straight years. Mm-hmm. And she said with a lot of pain. I'll never forget it. I've done thousands of interviews. It always stuck with me.
You know, this business you love so much and the sacrifices that you make. You know, my older son, he grew up in this business. Literally the day I started training, my promoter, the promoter who owned the training school and the promotion would be holding him in his arm while I was in the ring training. So he literally grew up. You know, I remember picking up Brian Blair at the airport and Brett being with me and Brian holding his hand at like 2 years old, you know, going to whatever show we had in Colorado, you know, or like being on the road, and I took him a couple of times, and like, I mean, he's had some of the best guys around him. Paul Orndorff taught him how to defend himself.
Wow.
You know, it's like, don't let people bully you. Stuff like that, you know, so it's like, it's a catch-22, you know, it's a business you love so much, but it takes away. I mean, I was on the road Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. 2 to 3 matches a night. Every single night. You know, so like, to travel home, you know, you're trying to get stuff done, spend time with your family, get your bills paid, you know, and then you're off again. You know, I was on the road for 2 years straight. I would come home for a couple of days and leave again.
700 days. Forget 350.
That's right. And
my father was an accountant.
You go.
I guess you can really count on your father. Huh?
So we're rapidly running out of time. Who do you have coming up on Monty and the Pharaoh?
I don't know if we have anybody right away coming up on Monday and Pharaoh except the two of us.
Haven't
had any Team Splendid in a while, you know.
Well, we could do that, but I don't know who's on deck right now. We might actually be breathing for a second.
Okay.
So basically go to www.montyandthepharaoh.com and check us out on Thursdays right here at Village Connection Network at 8:05, you know. Okay. We'll be around.
Jim, any new shows? Anything you want to plug?
Nothing at the moment.
Okay.
Same old.
Okay.
Which is
still
good.
cranking them out.
Same old is good.
Yeah,
cranking them out.
Jim, anything you want to plug?
Every Thursday, Gorilla Position. Check it out.
And what makes Gorilla Position special? There's a zillion websites.
His writing.
Hype it.
Well, for
one thing, his writing.
Well, thank
awesome.
you. I appreciate it.
I love
do
when you put the
appreciate that.
writing, you see him, you're like, there's no way this person did that. And
I could have written for
Wait a minute.
PWI.
Was there an insult in there? What the hell's going on?
We call it a left-handed compliment.
Yeah. Do it again. I missed it. I missed everything.
The gimmick behind the website is telling the stories of professional wrestling storytellers. You know, so we're not just about what happened last week on Raw and SmackDown or what's going on with the AEW. I mean, personally, for me, it's about the history of the business, talking to these guys, seeing how the business has affected their life. Plus, it's bringing the history of the business to these young guys that think that every match is Super Kick City. You know what I mean? There was a time when stories were told, and it needs to be that way.
Yeah.
You know, I'm going to be coming out. Actually, there's going to be a new column debuting. I'll announce it here today. It's called Going to Heel. I'm going to be highlighting 36 of the best heels, in my opinion, throughout the wrestling business, throughout the years, all the way back to Bull Curry.
Oh, nice. Wow.
And we're gonna. It's going to be a once a month. I think is going to be a new one, maybe twice a month.
Beautiful.
So why'd you pick the number 36?
That's just where I stopped. I might go to 50. It's just where
okay.
that's
That's
just where I landed at. Yeah, that's just where the list stopped.
Cool,
if Don Morocco's not in that
He's
top
on the
36,
list.
something's wrong.
He's on the list. Don Morocco.
I like that guy.
Wait, elaborate. If Don Morocco's not number 1 on that list,
I
something's
believe
wrong.
he's in the top 10. Actually, I believe he was in the first 10 names
I
I knocked out.
Who's the first one?
Wait.
I would have to.
This is not unveiled yet. Hold on. Wait a minute. Spoilers?
Yeah, it's okay.
I just wondered if it's my number 1 heel in my life.
To be honest,
at the age of 6 years old, I fell in love with a blonde-haired Nick Bockwinkel.
On the list?
I think Bockwinkel's awesome.
On the list.
He is, from that point on, I wanted to be a wrestler. I mean, to love a person from such a young age, and it's just sad in me. And I'm just like, I love that man.
Class.
I would sit there like this and watch him wrestle and be like, maybe
He
that's
was
why I was such a bad
class
child. I was a
I
heel
used to
growing up.
I used to see Bockwinkel wrestling in the 80s, and he was in his 50s at
Yeah.
the time, and he was still great.
Working Kurt
Still
Hennig.
great.
That match with Kurt Hennig on
Yes.
ESPN. Oh my God.
Oh, that's one of my favorite ones.
Oh my God! And he was a psychologist.
But
Yes.
Bockwinkel
Bockwinkel,
Zabisco
man.
too. You know, all those matches. Those guys, the guys that could really take it to the mat
That's a wrestler.
and have the knowledge. Yes, thank you.
A wrestler.
Not a sports entertainer. Someone that
Right.
can take it to the mat
Right.
and go, and doesn't need to be told we're going to
And
do
his promos
1
were
spot,
great.
2 spot,
They
3
were.
spot.
They
You can go in
were.
the ring, and all you know is that he's going over, you're going under. Go in and make it happen. The referee will tell you when you're going home. Right?
It was an all-time
That's how
great.
it should be.
So who's the number 1?
I can't remember. The list is extensive.
Who's
I don't
your
know.
personal number
My
1?
personal number 1, Nick Bockwinkel, is high on the list. Bruiser Brody.
Bruiser Brody.
Bruiser Brody started out as a journalist
Yeah.
and followed his
Brody.
dream into the ring and became one of the most intense heels of all time. And the story of his death, you hear it so much. And I love the wrestler, but he has so much. There's so much more there to offer. I'm trying to get with his widow, Barbara Goodish, and
Let me know. I'll
to do
look it up for
a feature story.
That's
We
my
talked
girl
at the
right
CAC.
I saw Brody and Abdullah live. I saw Brody and Bruno in a cage.
Oh.
I saw Brody and
My
Bruno at the
God.
Garden. Yeah.
Well, for me, Brody Hansen,
you just
AJPW in Japan. That's the end.
You just
end
said
all.
Bruno and Brody?
In a cage.
In a cage?
That's
You
the
were there?
Coliseum. Yeah.
Oh my
It
God!
was in 1976. or
Anybody got a
7, yeah.
videotape of any of this?
I doubt
Oh
it.
my God! I want to
doubt it.
see that.
You know the best thing he said, that he loved this business so much when they did that story on Viceland. He said that if he could go back, he would take away those 3 years he played for NFL and put him into wrestling. That's
wrestling
how much he
instead.
loved the business.
Let me just throw this in quickly. I've interviewed hundreds of legends over the years, and when I ask that question, who do you consider the greatest heels? They inevitably go Buddy Rogers or the original Sheik. That's who the legends say.
Interesting.
So they're looking at
Ray
it from
Stevens.
or
I
Ray
hear that- I hear
Stevens
that a
or
lot.
Ray
Interesting.
Stevens. Yeah,
He's
yeah,
on the
yeah.
list.
For me, it's
Ray Stevens in his prime.
Bombs away,
He
Ray
slowed,
Stevens.
He slowed down in the 80s, but
Yeah.
he was great.
for me it's Valentine. Greg Valentine.
He's right
I just
up
love
there.
Greg Valentine. He'd go around breaking
Yeah,
everyone's
he
leg,
broke Wahoo's leg.
putting a T-shirt on.
That
You
was
know what I saw
wonderful.
the other day for the first time? Greg Valentine against Davey Boy Smith at the Garden.
How was
Good
that?
match.
Wow.
Good match.
Really?
Yeah, yeah.
Styles complimented each other.
Yeah,
besides,
they were both wrestlers.
Yeah,
They were both wrestlers.
interesting.
Yeah, we worked a
See
few
that.
years on the indie scene, Greg and I.
Who's your favorite heel all time, Bill?
Let's see. Well, the ones I emulated myself after was Kurt Hennig, Ric Flair. I liked Midnight Express.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
That's my favorite tag team of all time.
I like them.
Road Warriors, of course.
Yeah.
Because they
Barry Horowitz. Just kidding. There you go. Mark moment. Went.
Oh goodness.
That's hilarious.
Well, you know, there's and it's
But you got to name one. Come on, who's your all-time favorite? You might have already named them.
Well, Ivan Koloff was one.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Hello.
And I got to wrestle him in UWF, so that was nice for me.
Blessing.
Koloff.
And I got to throw a nice move on him, and Bob Backlund came in and did the save.
You know what my all-time favorite was? John Tolos.
Oh,
I
okay.
love
Golden
John
Greek.
Tolos.
John Tolos is great.
I love that guy.
Oh.
I saw him wrestle Bruno at the Garden.
Really?
It was great, yeah.
You're so fortunate to be in New York.
That's
to
because
see
I'm 100 years old.
Yeah, but to see all those great matches at the Garden.
1974, he's 100
The
years
funny
old.
thing
What's
is,
going on
I
here?
basically stopped going in '85. It got very cartoonish.
Hogan!
So then I went to all the NWA shows in Philly.
Wow, do you hate Hogan? I got it.
No.
So what's your take on Hogan at the end
I
of the
just
day?
think it was very predictable. He'd do the
Right.
Superman comeback, then the leg drop, and
Right.
no matter who he was in with, it was like the same finish.
Right. Where do you sit with Macho Man when you know he's great in the ring, but what was your take on him?
Like I said, I didn't see much of him live because at that point I was going to NWA
Oh,
shows.
man,
I
Mr.
saw
Macho?
Macho Man and Adonis against Bruno and
Adonis.
Tito in a cage at the Garden.
Oh,
that
that's
was great.
awesome.
That was
works.
great.
He says all these
Randy?
great matches. It's not fair.
Adonis is a tag team. Jeez.
Adonis
Yeah,
and Macho
man.
Man in the cage.
Whew.
Yeah, it was
That
great.
had to have been good.
Yeah, but anyway, you have another show coming up, right? Okay, so we're gonna wrap things up. Any last plugs?
They're not here. Don't rush.
Okay.
Oh.
Last plugs.
Nye Kennedy Facebook, Feisty All Day Instagram, and Nye Kennedy on just a little on Twitter.
There you go.
Okay.
Go on Facebook, Simply Sensational Fabio, the word Fabio, and then LOUS. Makes it one word. But when it's spelled, it's a hyphen there. So it's Fabio Less with a little pause. That's all part of the
It's all in the
craziness.
delivery.
It's all part of that. Look, Simply Splendid Bobby C. Look for the Team Splendid fan page and keep up with all the events going on. Team Splendid polo shirts and T-shirts will be on the way, and quite possibly Team Splendid hats. So,
And in the minute or two remaining, are there any other fat guys you want to attack?
What?
I'm joking.
Don't start here.
I'm joking.
Yes. You got one sitting right next to you. Go easy.
Oh my God! Oh my Lord!
Oh man.
I would just like to say real quick, in the land of podcasts where everybody can throw out a podcast, I appreciate this station and what you guys do. Everybody this show, the Evan Ginzburg show, Jim Savali, my man here. Too bad Monty's not here. I give him a big chop because he needs one. But yeah,
He needs a
real,
salad. Monty needs a
radio,
salad.
Real radio in the land of podcasts with great guests, high caliber guests. They set the standard, in my opinion.
Thank you, brother.
Monty and the Pharaoh have one of the biggest names in the business. I lean more indie, but these
It's your
guys
big
have legends.
secret. I think it's your big secret that eventually is people going to be like, whoa, wait a minute. There's a library going on here. What's going on here? There's like 50 videos at this point. So we'd be building. We just keep going.
That's your legacy.
That's how you do it.
Yep.
That's your legacy.
Wanted to leave something behind. You know.
Create art, and I say all the time, long after I'm gone, the wrestler will be here. And
Absolutely.
350 days and whatever else we
Best
make.
film ever.
Whenever
about
somebody
pro
can
wrestling.
appreciate something that you've given to yourself, you know what I mean? Something that you put your time into, no matter what it is, music, writing, films, whatever it is. When you get back that appreciation, you know what I mean? It's great.
Yeah. And it's worth it too. It's a little tiring and aggravating
The
sometimes, but
sacrifice
it's worth
is there.
it.
The sacrifice is
It's supposed
there.
to be-
Hours traveled, miles traveled.
It's
Lord.
supposed to be trail of dismembered body parts. That's
No,
these
no,
lead
that's
body
gross.
parts.
I just want to trail the bodies.
What's going on over here?
She's killing people. I don't know what
Oh,
happened.
well, we're talking about good ways to dispose of people. I
To
feel like
dispose of
on
people?
Fargo. What was that?
Do you not
Stephen
watch
Buscemi
Deadwood? Buy
was
pigs.
taking that person and putting
Buy
him in the wood
pigs.
chipper.
I have to see the movie. The movie just came out.
Yeah, that's such a great show.
I have
Such
to
a great
see
show.
all 8 seasons.
And then
of
put him
Game
in
of
cement and
Thrones.
make him part of a foundation of a house.
Deadwood was great.
You gotta watch Deadwood.
Deadwood was great.
It was Game of Thrones in the Old West.
I'd be lacking.
Deadwood's
Anyway,
Disorder in the court.
This is deteriorating into separate conversations, so we're gonna wrap
going
it up.
on here?
All right, thank you, Jim.
Focus.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Evan. Thank you.
Pleasure to be
All
here.
right.
Till next time.
Coffee.
conversation, they're all dead. The lines cut off inside my head. I left here like a broken man with no idea of where I stand. Oh, my mind clears. Lord, I shed all of my tears. Oh, now baby, I was just waiting here while you moved on. Security, this newfound freedom you kept from me. The sound of all your loaded guns. This heartbreak war has just begun. The sound of all your loaded guns. This broken man has already won. Oh, my mind clears. Lord, I shed